Hello everyone, it's Jen. I'm back with another project for Heffy Doodle. Today I'm creating a fun fall scene card using the mischievous little squirrels from the Nuts About You stamp set. There's a few birds, a couple of bird houses, a different variety of nuts and leaves in this stamp set, as well as a variety of sentiments. So we're going to jump into the coloring, and for fall cards I love using rich saturated colors. So for my squirrel, I'm using E18 as the darkest, E09 as my midtone, and E17 as the lightest. You'll notice I'm using mostly E09, the midtone, to color in the body, leaving only a very small area on various parts of the body for that highlight color. And this is going to give me a beautiful reddish brown tone for our squirrel. So for the white, I'm using W3, W1 and blending that out with the colorless blender. Then I'm going to add a little R20 to their cheeks. Now for the bird feeder, I am using a 2-color blend. I'm using E27 as the darkest, E37 as my mid-tone, and then E34 as the lightest. Now technically for the stand of the birdhouse, you could color that in just with your darkest marker because it is going to be in a shadow because the bird feeder would be on top of it. I wanted a little bit of dimension, so I added the darkest color down the right hand side, then blended that out with the mid-tone, and then a little bit of highlight for some interest. For the bird seed, I'm using E31, E51, and E50. But I'm going to use a bunch of markers here and just do a dot technique to make it look like bird seed. Now these are a lot of colors. Most of them I already had on my desk because I used them for other images from the stamp set. There is a color map at the end of the video and on the corresponding blog over on Heffy Doodle if you want to see all the colors that I've used. I did use another color combination here for the acorn. And then I'm going to cut out all my images using the coordinating dies. You can see the bird feeder has a fun feature where it cuts out the center of it. How fun is that? And once I have all my images cut out, I'm going to start on the background. I wanted to create a sky. So I grabbed out my Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide ink and I'm just going to blend that onto my background. I'm not worried about a smooth blend here because I wanted there to be variation in the color just for interest for the sky. I'm also going to spray some water just for some added texture, and then I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to work on the frame or the focal panel for my card. So I'm using a piece of fall colored plaid pattern paper, cut that out with my Heffy Doodle stitched rectangle, and now I'm going to create a little opening here with my stitched oval die. I knew I didn't have enough images that I wanted to use to create a full scene card. So sometimes just adding a frame really helps bring in those images when there's only a few that you want to use and you don't think, it's going to kind of fill out a full card. So I'm using a standard A2 sized card here, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I did cut out some green cardstock with the Grassy border dies. I'm just going to add that so that there's a little bit of interest behind my little squirrels that I'm going to place on the ground. Once I have that adhered to my frame, I'm going to add the birdhouse, and I'm just going to tuck that behind the pattern paper and then adhere that down with some glue. Now I probably should have added a little bit of cardstock behind the birdhouse here. I did get a little bit of warping. I think it's because it's a little bit higher over top of that grass cardstock, but you'll see I just play with it a bit and eventually I get it adhered nice and flat. So this card is inspired by the squirrels at my parents' house. It never ceases to amaze me how acrobatic they are in terms of getting into their bird feeders. They hang from the trees, they jump from the trees, they jump from the ground, trying to get into the bird feeders. So I thought it would be fun to kind of recreate that scene. So I'm going to have one of the little squirrels hanging from the branches, or dangling, I guess, trying to get into the bird feeder. And then the other three, his little friends, are going to be hanging out underneath the bird feeder on the ground, perhaps catching anything that falls out of the bird feeder. So here's where I'm just adding some more adhesive to the birdhouse. I am going to lay a stamp block on that for a little bit, just to make sure it's nice and adhered as the glue dries. I did need to trim a little bit of my card panel here to the right. Just fine. I didn't get it adhered perfectly, but no big deal. So now I'm going to place my little squirrels. I'm going to have two to the left, and then I think this little one to the right is my favorite, with his little paw pointing, and it looks like he's almost laughing. So I do want to have him on a little bit of an angle, so it looks like he's pointing to the squirrel dangling from the tree branch. I am going to pop up three of these little cuties. I'm going to pop up the one hanging from the tree, and then the one to the right, and the one in the front to the left. That little guy to the left behind the one in the front, I'm just going to adhere down with my liquid adhesive. And I think this little scene just turned out so cute. I love the expressions on the faces of the squirrels. And you could definitely color these up in different colors for chipmunks, or you could do black squirrels, gray squirrels, brown squirrels. I just chose a more reddish color. So now that I have everyone in place, I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and I chose the one, "You're nutty and I love it." Was trying to decide whether I wanted it to the right or the left, just to balance things out. I chose the right side over top of the squirrel, almost like he's saying the sentiment, which I think is perfect for our little nutty squirrel hanging off the tree branch. So I did color up a lot of the different nuts and leaves in the stamp set. So I'm just going to play around with filling out the bottom of my scene here. I'm going to use a few of the acorns and then a bunch of the leaves. Because I have two squirrels to the left and only one to the right, I felt like I needed to balance out that right-hand side. So I'm using those bigger acorn images to help me do that. And then the orange leaf. And then I wanted to bring that orange over to the left-hand side as well. And a little bit of that red, because on the branch I did use an orange leaf, a green leaf, and a red leaf. So I'm going to bring in one of the green leaves as well, and I'm going to have that like it's falling to the ground on the left-hand side. Now for the orange leaf to the left, I just needed to trim that off a little bit. The foam tape was getting in the way, but I wanted it to be nice and snug behind my little squirrel there. I'm going to add that green leaf. Thought about using that other bird feeder, but then I felt like it was just getting too overcrowded. But I did want to add the red leaf to the top of my squirrels there, just to add a little bit more height to that left-hand side. For some finishing touches, I'm going to use my black glaze pen for the eyes and the noses. This gives almost like an embossed or raised effect. It's one of my favorite tools in my craft room, as well as my white gel pen for some highlights. So I'm going to add some highlights to the nuts and the leaves, and then I decided as well to add 3 little dots in a triangle shape to the little rumps on my squirrels, just purely for interest's sake. I'm going to add some of that white gel pen to the bird seed, and then a highlight on the inside of the right hand side of the bird feeder. And that will complete my little card scene. So here's a look at the color map, which again you can find over on the corresponding blog post over at Heffy Doodle. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this fun fall scene card with these sweet little squirrels. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Take care, everyone. Bye.